Jeet Johar and his Beeba Boys have blazed a trail across the city.
So Beeba Boys is the first female-directed gangster film in 40 years, and huge departure for you and the types of films that you do. So, why this genre, and, why now?
Beeba Boys thematically, the theme of Beeba Boys is really very similar to all the films I've done, because my films have been about identity, they have been about assimilation, they have been about marginalization, and they have been about immigration, and they have been about gender. But those are the 5 things that thematically have always intrigued me. Beeba Boys thematically is about wanting to be seen in a white dominant society. Beeba Boys is about how do we fit in. Beeba Boys is about the price a section of the society, of the community pays in order to be assimilated. So there is, those are the subtexts of the whole film. Yes, the story is different. The story is about the gangsters, but you always need a different story to explore different or the same subjects.
You ain't going to be a Beeba boy, eh?
If you want to be king in this world, you got to take the offensive.
When it comes to casting, I think, you're the queen of casting. You never see a film of yours that you think, what? I could picture this person in that role. Like the casting is done impeccably, What was the casting process like in this film?
I do all my own casting. Or, if, for example, every one of the Beeba Boys was actually chosen not through a casting agent. I don't believe in auditions, firstly. So I don't put a call out and I don't say, all of you come, people come for this. It just doesn't happen. Randeep, I had heard about, everybody knows Randeep Hooda in India, and I was visiting my mother who's in Delhi, and mom said, have you seen him in this film? It's a film called Once Upon a Time in Mumbai, and I hadn't. I'd seen Highway and I'd seen Kick, but I hadn't seen that, and I think it was Kick, no, whatever, and I saw him and I thought it was terrific. I don't remember anything about the film, but I remember his appearance.
What did you find was that biggest eye-opener in learning a women's role in that gang life?
Beeba Boys is inspired by true characters and true events, and it's an amalgamation of them. So it's not based on one particular life or one particular event. And so when I was doing the research and writing the script, I did meet a couple of mothers of real-life gangsters. And what struck me about one of them was she kept on saying that her son was a Beeba Put, which means he's a good son. And that's where the name Beeba came in. And I felt there was something really tragic about them, about the mothers, because there were some who I've not met, but who have seen, are really grieving, because the life expectancy of a gangster is about 25. It's like a meteor. It just comes and it's gone, and the community is shocked. The mothers are in shock. The children are shocked. It's like always living in half mourning, and I wanted to capture that. And yet it's a matriarchal society, which is strange because actually an Indian society is very patriarchal. So to give mother some strength was really important for me. I read a sociological report that in fact in countries which are immigrant countries, like Canada, or even United States or even England, that the first step towards actual assimilation is crime. So to get legitimacy through crime is something that every wave of migrant community goes through, whether it's Irish, whether it's Jewish, whether it's Italian, whether it's Chinese, and I think it's sort of our turn now.
Yeah. There's these unexpected moments that you like the David Suzuki, and so what were for you some of those fun, memorable moments in shooting the film?
Well, that was one for sure, and when I wrote Jeet and I wrote his fascination with the environment, and Ali saying, it's that really he's like a bit like nature, because unless you fear nature, you won't get any results. So, and Jeet really thinks of himself as that. It's the irony. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that this is a bunch of brothers, quote unquote, who are gangsters, who are psychotic, and they're negative role models, but they're fascinating. and it's the dramatic arc that introduces you to that world, takes you into that world, and then it's like I said, it's like a meter. It rises, it shines, and before you know it, it's off the radar, and that's I think why people are really reacting so well to it.
Looking at characters in a different light has, these powerful, feared characters, very different dimensions to these characters. That's one of the messages that I took away. Like, let's see them in these different lights.
And also to see the film, because it's also really about what is the responsibility of the community.
Yes.
This is a fact but we have to own it.
Yeah.
Unless we own it and start a dialogue, we cannot fix it.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility first to fix the problem with what our youth is going through. And then I think it's the responsibility of the larger community, because we're all Canadians finally. We cannot be ghettoized.
Yeah.
Cannot have the Indian ghetto, the Chinese ghetto. We're all responsible for the way we are traveling in the world.
Yeah.
And that is what the film is about. I mean, if there's a message to the film, and the whole idea of respect, style, which is, if you want to be seen, you've got to commit to being seen, and power and money, is that crime doesn't pay finally. And why are we in our community wanting not to talk about it? And that's important. I mean, I understand that.
Yes.
Because we all want to be liked and not create waves, right? But unless we deal with these, unless we're confident enough to deal with these issues, it's not going to happen.